Welcome back to Torah in 10, Parshas Bereshit. I'm Jody Burkell, and I'm so excited to be here with you again. What's the life-changing idea Rabbi Sacks of Blessed memory teaches us this week? God believes in us, even when we don't believe in ourselves. Remember this, and you will find the path from darkness to light. This is a powerful statement, but how do we know it's true? We have to go back to the beginning. And here we are. The Torah opens describing the creation of the universe. Repeatedly we read, and God said, let there be, and there was, and God saw it was good. Until we come to the creation of humankind. Suddenly we notice a change. God says, let us make man in our image, in our own likeness. Rabbi Sacks says this signals some hesitation, consultation, and doubt. We have two questions. First, who is us? And second, this is the only time that God verbally reflects on what he's about to create before he creates it. Says Rabbi Sacks, at the time, there was no us. There was only God. The Talmud gives us an answer. The us refers to the angels with whom God consulted. He did so because he was faced with a dilemma. By creating human beings, there would be one life form on earth that could choose between obedience and disobedience, good and evil, using the earth for positive means or destroying it altogether. The Talmud gives us details of the conversation in heaven, during which two groups of angels, after God shows them the history of mankind, advises against creating man. God destroys them. A third group of angels says to God, you destroyed two groups of angels because they told you not to make man? You didn't listen. Who are we to tell you what to do? So even though by creating human beings, God was putting the whole future of creation at risk, God made man anyway. In bringing humanity into the world, the Talmud is telling us that the existence of humankind can only be explained by the fact that God has faith in us. This is unbelievable. The creator of the world has faith in me and you. That's what Rabbi Sacks is telling us. I heard a beautiful quote, which really brings this home. The quote says, I always believed that God existed, but I didn't know that he knew I existed. More than we have faith in God, he has faith in us. We matter. We're here for a purpose. God didn't want robots. He has angels for that. We, the angels, have no choice but to follow the rules. In creating us with free will, that's the ability to make choices that bring us closer to God and each other, or choices that do the opposite. The point is, the choice is ours. The real subject of the Torah is not our faith in God, which is often faltering, but his unwavering faith in us. God never stops believing in us, loving us, and hoping for the best from us. But it's not all roses. There are moments when God almost loses hope. We read in our Parsha, the Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and the Lord had regretted that he'd made human beings, and he was grieved to his very core. And from here, we're introduced to Noah, who God has faith in and was prepared to begin again with. Many people struggle with their faith in God. We look at our own challenges and those of others. We look at our history and we question our faith in God. But is that the question we should be asking? The example that Rabbi Sacks uses here is a very personal one to me and really helped reframe my experience visiting Auschwitz-Birkenau, the place most of my grandparents spent years of their lives in. Rabbi Sacks asks, How can anyone have faith in humanity after the Holocaust? It was the single most calculated, sustained crime of man against man that didn't happen in some third world country, but in the highly educated, civilized, and cultured country of Europe. Many people, when referring to the Holocaust, ask, where was God? I don't blame them for asking. I asked this question too. But then I read Rabbi Sacks's experience when he visited there. He said he didn't think of where was God because it was God who gave us the commandments. Do not murder. You shall not oppress the stranger, among others, on the sanctity of human life. When I stood staring at the crematoriums in Auschwitz, I thought, God didn't build this. If you read through the Torah, God doesn't stop Cain from killing his brother Abel. He doesn't stop the Egyptians from enslaving the Israelites. God doesn't save us from ourselves. That's why, according to the Talmud, it was such a risk to create human beings. The question that haunts Rabbi Sacks after the Holocaust and today in this new age of chaos is, where is man? There may be times in our lives, I know I'm not alone, that despair or losing hope sets in. People can be brutal to each other. We've all been hurt and disappointed by the behavior of those around us. And we look at the world and it can be very depressing and dark. That's one of the reasons I don't watch the news. I actually don't. I made a promise to myself years ago after watching the news and seeing that through their lens, the world looks like a pretty awful place. And I know better, that despite the bad news, the dishonesty, the corruption, because that's what sells, I ain't buying it. The world is an amazing place filled with the most incredible, giving, caring people. But you don't see that on CNN. So I keep informed of what's going on without clouding my mind with hopelessness and negativity. Rabbi Sacks says we can lose faith in humanity, in ourselves, or both. During these times, knowing that God has faith in us can transform a dark situation and make it much brighter. We may make mistakes, disappoint, and fall short again and again, but God never stops forgiving us when we fail and lifts us when we fall. In Rabbi Sacks's words, we may lose heart. God never will. We may despair. God will give us hope. God believes in us more than we believe in ourselves. What a beautiful message to take to heart as we go forward. Shabbat shalom, my friends.